Soldiers, sailors, airmen and women enlist in the armed forces for many reasons, including a sense of duty, patriotism, the adventure, travel, and adrenaline. When service members are injured or wounded and can no longer perform their military duties, they quickly find themselves removed from their team, no longer serving the purpose for which they trained.
I came back from Afghanistan in 2013, and it was kind of a trial and error of finding out, after the military, what's next in life.
Motorsports offers an opportunity to regain that sense of identity within a safe, fast-paced team environment, providing a renewed sense of purpose. Like in the military, in motorsports the goal is in accomplishing the mission, winning as a team, collectively celebrating the successes and supporting teammates through the losses. Operation Motorsport also offers virtual engagements and recovery opportunities through an iRacing league, engaging beneficiaries in a safe, competitive environment from the comfort and safety of their home. Operation Motorsport believes in the power of team, identity, and purpose.
Hello, this is Jason with Operation Motorsport. We'd like to introduce you to some of our beneficiaries who were active during the GT World Challenge SRO race at New Orleans Motorsport Park this past weekend.
This weekend I've been over here with Race Control, and it's basically been seeing behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing, kind of get to peek behind the curtain, see all the stuff that's actually happening, and what makes all these things on the track actually work. It's a central thing, and it is like being in a TOC, a Tactical Operations Center, in a deployment scenario, surprisingly. So you're in there and all these screens, all this activity, things are going 100 miles an hour, and everybody is juggling 7 things at once. Whenever there's any sort of race event, whether it's just laps that people are doing, or if it is an incident that's happening during a race or something like that, all of the things that happen that we see manifest themselves in terms of a race. These are things, and these are all the people who are pulling the strings and pulling the levers to make it all happen. So Operation Motorsport is all about having a team identity and purpose, and kind of restoring that for people who left the military like myself and no longer really have that sort of source for that. And this is a way to this has been a way for me to reinvigorate that kind of same part of me that otherwise I don't really get. It doesn't really scratch that itch. But it's meant a lot. It's meant a great deal to me to actually be able to kind of activate that part of my own brain and that part of my own self that otherwise is just kind of going dormant.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the third round of the sixth season of Operation eMotorsport iRacing League, live from iRacing's virtual Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Rachel Whiteford, and joined tonight by my colleague in the booth, Rodney Campbell, and our producer this evening, Gary Sexton. Gary is using cameras created by the great Dougie Beard. Well, Rodney, we are here at COTA, and as they always say, everything's bigger in Texas. No less so than the waistbands in many cases, but still. This is a fantastic track, of course. It incorporates sections from so many different circuits around the world. We even have a Maggots and Beckett's-y part of this place. What do you like and dislike about this track?
Well, it certainly has lots of different aspects to the course as far as elevation changes, off-camber corners. But it's not exactly one of my favorite courses, but it's something that the racers are going to have to deal with tonight is the seemingly lack of grip compared to a lot of courses. So the getting the cars through the corners safely is going to be job one for the drivers tonight.
Absolutely is. Turn one, a very, very tight hairpin that will be a struggle for the drivers, of course, especially on that first lap. Then we have a very twisty first section there with the winding S's before some big straights and some infield sections, or infield-esque sections, of course. This track is host to Formula One, don't forget, and NASCAR's Xfinity and Truck Series. Now, it also hosts things like Trans Am as well, Moto America, and the F1 Academy. It was opened originally, or broke ground, I should say, in 2010, and it first opened in 2012. And the circuit is 5.5 kilometers in length, or 3.4 miles, with 20 circuits. And its currently held lap record is 1 minute 36.1 by Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari SF90 in 2009. So, obviously we're not going to get a lap time that fast tonight, Rodney. What are the big things to watch out for here?
I think just getting around the course safely and through the corners. We've seen a lot of cars off in practice, so hopefully during the race itself, people take it a little easier and get around the course. We're going to see some close racing here. I'm looking at the practice times here. There's like the top two drivers in the pro class and the pro beneficiary class, Chris Walsh and Matt Smotherman. They're only looks like 1/1000ths of a second apart in practice, so it's going to be very tight racing at the front of the field tonight.
It should be indeed. Slightly smaller field here tonight, which should make the racing a little bit nicer for us in terms of getting some good car-on-car action. But we have a good grouping for this one. We'll have to see how it will play.
Yeah, the field's almost evenly split between the GT3 cars and the GT4 cars.
It certainly is. Don't forget, folks, of course, this is Operation eMotorsport. Who are they? Well, they're a structured virtual racing series that brings together the beneficiaries of Operation Motorsport, veterans, military members, race car drivers and crews, and other supporters of the Foundation to compete in a friendly virtual sports car racing environment. They're a veteran-led and operated not-for-profit based in Raleigh, North Carolina and Brighton, Ontario, serving American and Canadian service members and veterans. Its programs are based on three core values: team, identity, and purpose. Operation Motorsport supports the recovery of medically retiring or retired service members affected by their service through motorsport opportunities. Their motto is one at a time. It's a really important job they're doing here. If you can support them, always do. Of course, this track, relatively new. It's not one of our kind of vintage tracks that has a lot of history to it, being basically 10 years old, Rodney. And someone would call it a tilkydrome. It's a little procedural at times, but I think that could also make our racing higher speed and more car-to-car.
Yeah, it's a good mix of technical sections and all-out speed sections, so I think a little bit of something for everyone who likes those types of courses.
It certainly is. And well, we're getting our car still out on track right now, qualifying here. So weather's a little bit foggy by the looks of things. Looking at what we've got, we're still looking at fairly standard conditions, but things do seem a little mistier, perhaps on the camera that I'm seeing. I'm not quite sure. But we are seeing fairly standard weathers, in fact, here. Oh, humidity's very high. That would probably do it. 60%.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're probably seeing a little humidity in the air. Being Texas.
That's most likely it. As long as we don't see anyone trying to herd a whole herd of cattle across the circuit, we'll be okay.
Absolutely.
No, we're looking at some good times right now. 2 minutes 24 is Brian Knight. That's not in the correct order there. So we'll look at these qualified times. 2:07 is our fastest from the prototype class. And of course, those drop down to the 2:20s or so as we go to the GT3 cars. Now, don't forget, we have a couple of categories and classes to look at today. 4, technically. We have the Pro class. They are either competition license holders, past and present in things like IMSA, SRO, CTC, or other bodies. iRacing Road class license holders with either a safety rating over 3.99 or 1900 iRating. We also then have Pro beneficiary, who are beneficiaries that are too darn fast to be part of the beneficiary class, so we stick them in the GT3 cars as well. And of course, the GT4 classes are our beneficiary class, who are people enrolled in any Operation Motorsport program, and their coverage is covered for them. And we have the open class. They are serving military or veterans not enrolled in a program, staff members, volunteers, and supporters of Operation Motorsport. So technically 4 classes, but you'll see them on screen as 3. The Pro beneficiaries will be running as part of the Pro bracket you'll see there. What category do you fit into?
I normally run in the Pro class when I'm running. But,
fast guy, huh?
Well, not as fast as some of these guys out here, that's for sure.
So I don't think I've ever actually asked you this on broadcast before, but are you a veteran yourself?
Yes, I am. I am a member or former member of the Canadian Armed Forces, the Army.
Ah, the Army, a good choice there. Just anything else you'd like to tell us about that service? What did you do?
Oh, I was in the has something that they call the REMI Corps, which is the maintenance of Army equipment, and did a tour over in the Middle East in the early 90s. Now I'm dating myself now. It's a long time ago. But since been retired for quite a while now, and been retired from my post-military life for a few years, and got into sim racing a few years ago, and actually sort of stumbled across Operation Motorsport and participated in some of their first online races, like the iRacing Race of Remembrance that they hold every November. So I did that a couple of years ago, and sort of been helping out with the guys, either participating or helping out with the series ever since.
Well, I must say it's been a wonderful series to be part of myself. I've really enjoyed commentating these races. Never raced in one, and it's been a very long time since I actually have raced in the sim, but it's a cause very, very dear to my own heart, having also served. So I'm very proud to be able to at least offer what I can here in terms of commentary to a fantastic racing series. And I think our clock is running down here a little bit. We're in qualifying phase, I should say. 2 minutes or so left on the clock for this before we'll go to the grid and get this race underway here in Texas. I have to say, having watched bike races here, they do seem to suit this track a little better than cars at times. I know with the stock cars, it could be a little bit wild around this place.
Yeah, it seems in qualifying here, it looks like most of the cars are behaving themselves. Everybody's getting into a groove on the track, which is going to bode well for the race, I hope. Yeah, these Opmo guys, it's a great league to be part of. They, great camaraderie, and everybody's out here having fun and not taking it too seriously, and nobody's running anybody off the road to gain a position. So it's a great league to be part of, and the guys really enjoy it.
I think that's one of the big things for me, is that you can tell there's a huge amount of sportsmanship and respect in the series. The drivers give each other room. We do have accidents. It's impossible to race without them, but they're not people trying to win. It's either a mistake or it's just a racing incident. You just don't see those try-hard moments where someone is absolutely desperate to take a position and will cause an accident. And I'm really happy to see that, because it makes the racing environment much more pleasant and enjoyable to watch. Times. Oh, go ahead.
No, absolutely. I think that when drivers make mistakes, you'll hear them on the comms apologizing and feeling really bad about taking other drivers out, and it's just a good sign of how good the sportsmanship is in this series.
Certainly is. Looking at our times right now, of course, we do have a couple of the guys we're going to mention here for Pro Beneficiary. In fact, it's very split today. We have, of course, Chris Walsh in Pro, we have Martin Wallace at Nelson, and Gabriel Albano. And for the Pro Beneficiaries, we have Matt Smotherman, we have Tyler Guillemette, and we have Scott Andrews and Hunter Reeve. So we have basically 4 of each there. Then we have Tyler Beeman, we have Kyle Smith and Steve Santana for the Open, and Connor Parisi and Matt Aote and Brian Knight for the Beneficiaries. It's a small field tonight, surprisingly so, but hopefully we'll have a great race regardless. And I do not remember that Whataburger marking being on the outside of the kind of last section here. Am I going crazy? Was that something recently added?
Oh, that's sort of a loaded question, Rachel. I don't think the scan's been updated on this track since it's started. Now, whether that watermark is there or those paint markings are there in real life, I'm not sure.
It must be. I mean, they obviously updated things to match the real world. I just never noticed a huge Whataburger sign, which, viewers are Canadian, I'm not sure if they have that up there, but I know it's an American burger chain, so I just hadn't seen it here before. Okay, pace car is out on track. We're getting ready to go here at the moment. So we'll have to see how this will shake out once we get going. Of course, realistically, 2 car classes we're looking at tonight. We have the GT4s and GT3s. So we'll see that bouncing along as it goes. Field now starting to grid up here. We'll go through our grid. We've got Matt Smotherman, like I mentioned, Chris Walsh, Martin Wallace, F. Nelson, Tyler Guillemette, Gabriel Albano. We have Hunter Reeve and Scott Andrews. That's our Pro and Pro Beneficiaries. And behind them, it is Nick Maranio, Connor Parisi, Tyler Beeman, Matt Aote, Kyle Smith, Stephen Santana, and Brian Knight, rounding out our 15-car field tonight. So what are your predictions coming into this one, Rodney?
I think because it's a little smaller field here, the cars will spread out and everybody will find their groove. So hopefully we'll see some good racing. I'll certainly see some good racing up in front here. Those 2 cars between Matt and Chris will be duking it out here for most of the night, I imagine. I see Matt managed to squeeze past Chris for the pole position here tonight, and we'll see how that works out through the race. And we'll also see the pit stop strategy, because the cars will have to pit halfway through the race. And as we've seen with some of the earlier races in their series, sometimes the pit strategy can come into play here and be advantageous if for the right person taking the right pit stop at the right time.
We certainly will absolutely see that. Well, we're starting pretty late in the lap here for this one, so we'll have them come through this final infield higgledy-piggledy section here, which starts at the end of the back long straight. So right now we're kind of taking turn 12, so we'll come through this infield segment through the grandstand areas before we'll come through to turn 20, the final corner, and get ourselves ready to go. Pace car will pull off before that final corner, so they'll be in the command of your lead for each group, Smotherman and Maranio, as we get through those final sections, and we will see how this one will turn out. I'm looking forward to seeing some good racing tonight. Walsh and Smotherman have definitely proven to be real adversaries here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see here as the cars file through how tight some of these corners are at the tail end of the track here.
Absolutely. We'll have to see how that one will go. It's going to be a good race, though. I do like this track. It tends to race quite well, given the GT cars' performance numbers. We have a lot of runoff here, so no excuses for any donking on track tonight. We'll get to
and it's a fairly wide track as well. So yeah, and with the runoffs, there's lots of room here. So there's no, which makes for some good racing and good opportunities to pass, and there's room to pass on the track.
Certainly is. Oh, and I'm being told by our producer Gary Sexton, Whataburger is the greatest of all time. So you have it there from an expert. Here we go, final corner, turn 20. And field of command of Smotherman. And he's going. Green flag. They're racing here at Circuit of the Americas behind them as well. The GT4 field are also going a couple of slowdowns from the inside of the field there. The 117 and 11 had a bit of a wobble to start there. 93 going to get a good jump on them. That was Carl Smith. Looking towards turn 1, everyone making it through there from your Pro and Pro Beneficiary classes as we get ourselves going for tonight's race.
Oops, we have contact at the top of the hill there, just turn 1 for the GT4 class.
Yeah, a couple of little issues we just had at the top of the hill. Yeah, a bit more contact than we wanted, perhaps. There's a little bit of a tight angle in there for the 117. That's Melorano, who was the grid leader there. Contact with the 7, that was Steve Santana. Leading to a bit of a spin there and some turnarounds. Thankfully, very low contact and low speed there other than the spin, so hopefully everyone can get that back shaken out and going again.
Yeah, hopefully not too much damage on those cars. You can see how tight and sharp that corner is at the top of the hill at the front straight after the start finish. Very tough blind corner up over that hill, and when you're 2 or 3 wide, it's very tough to keep off other cars.
Certainly is, as coming through at the moment, top of your field. Very tight here in the GT3 cars. Everyone holding their ground, but Matt Smotherman already making huge gains. He's run off into distance. Currently about a corner ahead of some of the other guys at the moment, so that's going to be... Oh, we have a spin. Martin Wallace goes... Not Wallace, sorry, that was...
Ed Nelson.
Nelson, yeah. Nelson. I'll try and get a replay of what happened to him just a moment ago, but that was in... I believe that's going to be turn 15? It was 15, yeah. And he just comes back there, I think, accidentally of the car in front of him, the 666 of Wallace, under braking and spins himself out, but no further contact there, so could have been worse. I don't think I've seen someone who's been the one that's run into someone spin out before. That's unusual.
No, it looks like... yeah, I'm not even sure if he touched the car. Maybe he just thought he was getting too close and applied the brakes, and that just sent the car around. But luckily, no damage appears, and he got into the back tail end of the line there and carries on.
Yeah, it certainly does. Well, at least we've got them all going. No one's off the track yet. Everyone's still running at the moment, so we have that going for us. So the gap now for Smotherman only widening. 2.7 seconds at the line to Martin Wallace there. Chris Walsh running pretty close to Wallace, as is Guillemette, Reeve, Albano, and Andrews running a little bit further back with Nelson there towards the rear. So we still have some pairs, but I'm a little surprised by Smotherman here. He is absolutely jetting. This car's on different fuel to everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. When we saw the practice times, we thought it might be a little closer than this, but he certainly has found something here tonight and is setting the pace early. We'll see if Chris can respond here and catch up.
Absolutely. Well, he was about 0.6 faster than Chris Walsh, who was second in qualifying, so we're seeing some big pace tonight. We'll have to see how this one does play out, but I hope he doesn't try and lap people. That would be quite awkward, I think, for a race like this. But we know Smotherman's been one of those guys who's been incredibly fast, Rodney. Even when he was in the beneficiary class, he was absolutely going for things. So it's good to see him running in the same car as the pros. We get to see a more even race, but I don't know what they put in the water for the Smotherman boys, because both of them are fast.
Yeah, they both have it in whatever they're drinking, and it certainly works for them. They've been sort of the class of the field at a lot of the racetracks here. So we'll see if he can carry on and keep this pace going.
We'll have to see that indeed. And if he does eat his tyres up, that will bring him back into clutches of Walsh, Wallace and Guillemette. And that'll make for an interesting fight. So we'll have to see if that is actually a factor, because I know this track can really encourage you to drive faster than the car's tyres will want you to. So we'll have to see how that plays.
Yeah, I know that earlier in the week, during some of the practices, the drivers were commenting on the tire wear and how high it seemed to be here compared to a lot of the other tracks that they were running on. So, that could be a factor here as we get towards the end of the race. It could also be a factor, if people decide to take tires in their pit stop as well. With the new iRacing model, you can fuel and take tires at the same time. So changing tires now becomes an option, or at least changing a pair of tires becomes an option without losing any time while you take fuel.
That does seem to be a useful change. Obviously, that's something that the GT cars in real life obviously have changed as well. Obviously, iRacing will allow the same thing. I have to say, coming from the oval side, I'm used to taking 2 tires. Obviously, I've done my share of GT racing, but I spent a lot more of my time racing on the oval tracks. And 2 tyres for us was always a big thing. You know, it was a very useful thing to get more grip and more rotation, but I've never really felt it to be perhaps the brightest idea on a road car. You may be more of an expert than I am, Rodney, in this case, but would it be 2 rears you'd take or 2 fronts?
It depends where your tire wear is. I've been, as of late, I've been taking 2 fronts if I have the opportunity to take them. Because I'm hard on my tires, hard on my front tires. I'm turning in hard and I'm braking hard, which really wears the front of your tires. The front tires more may so than your back tires, but it's a double-edged sword because you come out of the pits now you've got grip on your front, but your worn tires on the back, and the car can be quite a bit looser, and you've got to be sort of ready for it, especially for the first lap.
We have Scott Andrews backwards out of turn the 12. No, 14, and that was a solo incident, a really random one in fact, because he came out the corner. Oh, the back end stepped out. Yeah, we'll see here the back end of the car just steps out in that Ford GT, and in he goes to the inside wall. Oh, that's not a small hit either. Unfortunate there for Scott Andrews in the pro beneficiary class.
Yeah, the Ford GT has been quite a handful at this course, and you'll notice that Chris Walsh, who was previously driving the Ford GT in the previous races, has decided to go with a different car tonight because of that. This car being very hard to handle, and unfortunately Scott's got his hands full to get this car to the finish line in one piece.
That will hopefully be what he can do. Of course, he will need to come probably into... He's not actually, I don't think. No, he did not come into pit road, so he still has damage to the front of that car, so maybe he's going to wait for his pit stop window to open. Looking at the way things are right now, we're sitting on about 22 minutes, so about 2 or 3 minutes we'll see that window open. It's typically the middle 10 minutes of the race where we'll see these guys know they can come into pit road and get service, and most of them will do it towards the latter half. So I think if anyone's had an issue, we might see them pit early in that one, Rodney, whereas I think the majority are going to wait till about 10 to go.
Right, if your car picks up a little bit of damage or something like that, you certainly want to, as long as it's drivable, you want to stay out there until your pit window opens and then come in early. But if you've got no issues with your car, you probably want to stay out as long as possible. Depending on where your traffic is, sometimes you, when these cars come around here, if we start lapping the GT4s with the GT3s, then you may see some people come in early when they start to hit traffic just to try and avoid that, and hopefully come out in clean air when they come out of the pits.
Very important to have happen, of course. Clean air, very, very much the most underrated thing, I think, when it comes to motor racing. You just got to have that ability for the car to want to stick to the track, and when it doesn't, it can be a real problem. And no amount of new tyres will fix that for you. So as we're looking here, we've got a couple of the Ford GTs running. That's the 44 machine there. Is that 44? It says 44 on the door. Yes, it is. It's Hunter Reeve there with Gabriel Albano behind him, and out Nelson just to the rear of the shot. Just off, shot to the left. There he is, just appearing next to the number board. Let's start finish line for lap number 4 here. Guys putting in some good numbers at the moment. We're just about approaching that 9 minutes into this race. Feels like this one's a bit of a long one today. I don't know why, but it feels like 9 minutes has gone back so slowly compared to normal races. This is so frantic. I think maybe it's the scale of COTA, Rodney. This track, it is huge, and it's a 2-minute lap, so it's quite a long way around for these guys.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It seems when you just mentioned lap number 4, we're already, almost halfway into the race. It's because the laps are so long, and we're doing 2 minutes and 10 seconds or so for a lap. You don't have a lot of laps around this place in a half-hour race.
No, you certainly don't, of course. It's going to be very much like a Spa race, where you may get 9 laps in 30 minutes, and I don't think we'll see that few here. We're probably a bit shorter than that, but I'd say we'd probably look at maybe 15 laps, possibly, was what we might see tonight from these cars. Given that they're on the closer edge of 2 minutes, that's going to be more likely. Still focusing here on Reeve, Nelson, and Albano. Looking at a move here from Nelson to the inside. Oh, Reeve, sorry. No, Nelson.
Nelson, yeah.
No, it's Albano. No, yeah, that's Albano. I think that is, in fact, Gabriel Albano. making that move. No, he's not.
No,
He's going
it's-
to rear. It's like the cups and ball trick, you know, where they keep moving themselves around.
Yeah, Ed Nelson in that nice silver Porsche.
That's the one. Yeah, two of the Porsches chasing down a Ford GT, and it's looking like Hunter Reeve might be getting caught here by those two because he seems to be a little stiffer at the exits.
Yeah, it's been a few laps here now that he's had these Porsches all over his rear bumper, but he just seems to have enough just to keep ahead of them.
I think it's the top speed of the Porsche and how it exits, well, how it can actually get up to speed perhaps compared to the Porsches. Because it seems to enter the corner a lot better, necessarily not quite as well on the exit, but the Porsche seem to gain there and lose out on the straights.
Yeah, I think the Ford's got the power off the corners that Ed's, you can see him close up on the corners quite a bit, but then that Ford stretches it out here, as you can see coming through the start-finish straight. But Ed's not going to give up. He's going to start applying pressure here and hopefully try and force Reeve into a mistake. But so far, Hunter has been holding steady here.
Yeah, Hunter's been a pretty solid driver from both being in the beneficiary class up here to the Pro Benz, and you know he's fighting two of the pro drivers in this race, so he's holding his own in a very good good way here. And as Chris Ramirez, the manager of the esports series here, is saying, yeah, power's what saves you at COTA, and he's absolutely right. The Ford GT has to get up and go in a straight line. It will really benefit you at a track like this, where it is a lot of big straights. And oh, look at how tight it is right now. The 996 there of Nelson is getting right up behind him, and he could be in position to draft here for a pass into 12 at the end of this straight. But
you can just see how that Ford is just pulling away. Even with the draft, he's pulling away from that Porsche. So Ed's got the speed in the corners, but here he goes. He's tried this before. He's tried this before, and it hasn't worked. So
he's not quite there yet. Of course, he's going to probably take it here. Yes, at 13. But he hold it on. He had to slow down there. Hunter Reeve having to check up because of the exit washout with that Ford. Not quite as quick in the corners as he's now starting to lose out here to Albano as well, who's catching him. But definitely the straight and speed. I'm impressed he wasn't passed on the straight there. That just shows the grunt in those Ford.
Yeah, absolutely. Ed had a good run, and it just, even with the draft, just couldn't catch up. But he got him in the corner under braking, and because this track is so wide, there's quite a few lines into these corners that you can maybe take advantage and stick your nose in there a bit, and that's what Ed did. And he carried it through a couple corners and came away in front. So we'll have to see if Hunter can hang with him now and try and take back that position.
Yeah, very much so. As we'll see if we can do that. But look, another move here by Albano to turn one. Oh, wide goes the car there of Hunter Reeve, and he's just lost out to those two Porsches. They could just corner so much better than he can. And that's
I wonder if Hunter's having problems with his tires as well. Having raced so hard to try and stay in front of these guys on that Ford, and we've already mentioned tonight how the Ford is a bit of a handful on this track, so he could have chewed through some tires here earlier in the race and be suffering the consequences now.
I think that's really possible, yeah. No, that would make the most sense, I think, here. Looking forward to Kyle Smith here in your GT4s, the open class driver. Connor Parisi leading that group with Kyle Smith second place, Tyler Beeman in third behind him. We've also got Nick Milaranio down there as well. You can see those three guys. And off goes Milaranio, big hit.
No, big hit.
Well, what happened there? He had an issue earlier where he lost the back end and went around, and it's the same thing again.
Yeah, I think he was just got loose and paid the price.
Unfortunately,
the car doesn't look too bad though.
That's a huge hit. I'd be shocked if it was okay. You're seeing him here, the 117. Loses the back end. Oh, big hit. Oh my gosh, that was huge. How the car looks that good, I'm not sure, but I guess Porsches are built different. I think
he got a little lucky there. I would say.
Oh, and it's the corner right after the. I'd have come into the pits from that. I really would, especially with 15 minutes past. You're in the window. Yep. I'd have come down pit road there and repaired that car because that was almost the perfect place to crash, and he continues. It's weird.
Yeah, it looks like the car's got a little dent on the front fender, but so far it looks like it's drivable. So we'll see if he stays out here. If the pit window's open, I imagine he'll be coming in to get that fixed.
Is that a Porsche or an M1 Abrams? I've seen tanks take more damage hitting walls at that speed than I've had that Porsche. Then again, Porsche did used to build pretty decent tanks, so there is also, well, actually no.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of history there.
Yeah, a little bit of history. Maybe they're bringing that to their racing cars.
I think it's a bit of history they're trying to bury a bit.
Well, yeah. Porsches always seem to go faster when they're heading east. Anyway, moving onwards. Looking towards the front of your field, gap now for Smotherman, 6 seconds over Chris Walsh, who's got himself 8 seconds over Martin Wallace. So the front of our field really spread out there at the moment. And then it's 3 seconds between Nelson and Reeves. So, yeah, Albano's had an issue. He's dropped back quite a way. Looking at his car, it's fine. So, I'm not sure there.
Yeah, he must have had an off or a spin or something like that. Smotherman is certainly the class of the field here tonight. He's just taken that pole position and extended the lead all steadily through the race here. So excellent job on his part. And obviously he is dialed in on this track. And Chris Walsh has nothing for him here at this point. We'll see if the pit stops change that gap a bit. But right now it's Smotherman's race to win if he can bring it home in one piece.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Smotherman putting in a phenomenal run tonight. But gotta say the same for Connor Parisi. He's been having a great race too. He's got about 12 seconds over Tyler Beeman, who's the open class driver behind him. So 2 guys absolutely drag racing away in their respective classes.
Yeah, normally you see these guys a little bit closer, but I think with this being such a large track and such a difficult track to drive with these cars, that we're seeing that some of the guys rising to the challenge here and really putting the hammer down and extending those leads. But those leads will evaporate very quickly if you visit the grass or the fences, so the drivers really have to concentrate here on bringing it home.
Very much so. Right now we've got a couple of guys here. We're still looking there at Hunter Reeve. Got a replay coming up here showing what just happened for us, involving Hunter Reeve there. I think that's Tyler Guillemette just in front of him. Up into turn 1. Is it another loose back end? How his tires completely eaten up? Yep, that was going before it was even going anywhere. Yeah, let's just say I think we are pretty confident now he did cook his tires trying to keep those Porsches behind him.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see coming up that hill that the car unloads as you come across the crest there, and it's very easy for it to get loose, especially if you've chewed up your tires a little bit.
Very much so. I think he's going to be desperate to come in for a pit stop now. We're about 1 minute away, I think, from the majority of our field pitting here. We're in that late part of the window, but we're coming up to the very end of it, so probably this next lap we'll start to see people coming down pit road. 9 laps completed, so we're on for our about 15 kind of estimated run here tonight. As we've got Albano there. He dropped right back to the rear of your GT3 field after an incident himself. Not sure what we're watching on this one, but I'm sure we're about to see it. Is it Hunter Reeve again?
I think we're seeing the replay of the incident with Albano that sent him to the back.
We are indeed. What happened? Oh, a slow, lazy spin with the donuts. Oh, stylish.
Donut, nice job.
Yeah, that is how you spin your car. You spin it and keep going.
Absolutely. If you're going to spin, you might as well go all the way around and be pointed the right direction when you come out of it. Good job on his part.
Certainly is. Well, looking towards that window now, another car just got off a moment ago. I'm not sure who that was, but they, I think they recovered their vehicle. I'm not sure who that.
So Walsh just coming
the corner.
Walsh just coming out of the pits here, so we're starting to see those pits happening now. So he came in early. A couple of the cars have stayed out for another extra lap.
Yeah, this is going to be our window, I think, for most of these guys. If it wasn't this lap, it will be this lap coming. We'll start to see the rest of that grouping coming down at pit road. Everything's pretty even at the moment. Smotherman lapping some of the rear markers here for your GT4 field already. His gap nearly 7 seconds now with 10 minutes to go. Absolutely blistering pace we're seeing from Mr. Smotherman there. So I believe if I check my records here, Mr. Smotherman is former Army. So, go Army.
Here you go. We'll see if he comes into the pits this time by here.
Yeah, he's going to have a little bit more of a lot to do before we get to that point. Lap quarter 15 there, so through 16. Or is this one of those corners that the Americans like to add 15 corners to? It is, yes. That's turn 16, 17, and 18. 180-degree curve.
Yeah,
America, your math does suck sometimes.
Yeah, 3 sort of horseshoes in a row there. That's a bit much. It seems a bit much when you're driving it, that's for sure.
Certainly does. Well, of course, don't forget, this is, of course, in support of veterans, and today we have another beneficiary spotlight from our drivers today, and this is for Matt Ayotte. Now, Matt was a member of the Canadian Armed Forces. He was with the Canadian Army, most specifically the Corps of Royal Canadian Engineers. That's different from yours, isn't it? That's just the regular engineers compared to REME.
Correct.
Yes. He was a combat engineer, and he served for 17 years, and during 2005 was deployed to Afghanistan during Operation Athena with ISAF 3, and presently he is still working through transitioning back to civilian life, and he found Operation Motorsport while he was doing that. He was looking for a community that offered a familiarity whilst offering new exciting challenges. He says he enjoys the focus that is required in motorsports, allows him to work on his breathing and the methodical repetition of completing lap after lap, and he finds it much more fun than adult colouring books. So he was definitely Army, not Marines.
That's right, no crayon eating for him.
I have to make crayon jokes every broadcast because Chris Ramirez, the series manager, is a Marine, so we like to remind them of their colouring in. And Chris, if you're listening to this, which I know you are, stay inside the lines. Yeah. Okay, so Matt, is he going to be coming down pit road here in a second? We should expect him this time, I think. We're on what? 7 minutes remaining. If he's not pitted yet, I'm surprised if he's not. So we'll find out here.
Yeah, he didn't pit last time, so he's got to pit this time or he's going to run out of fuel.
Yeah, he has no pit stops in his lap records right now. We've got reports from Chris. He likes the colour cyan. Apparently it tastes the best. Okay, so coming through the final, well, penultimate corner to the pit entrance here, we'll see if Smotherman decides to come down pit road here. He's tracked out wide. He's continuing again. Okay, maybe they have more gas than we thought for this race. We're looking at our fuel limits, 40%, so they should be pitting here. They go really late in this one. I think we've also had Chris Walsh, really. I haven't noticed too many other people going to pit road, Rodney.
Yeah, maybe the fuel burn is a little bit less here. I'm surprised, though, so maybe there was a difference in fuel calculations for tonight. Here we see Ed Nelson coming in, though, so it looks like they maybe have to do a splash and dash here for the last couple of laps. Long pit road to ease your way down here and find your pit stall.
Certainly is there.
Good view from the onboard Ed's car as he comes into the pits. His car did not go up on jacks, so he did not take tires. He just took fuel and goes.
That gives us information on his choices for this race. Very congested in turn one at the moment, in fact. Quite a few cars trying to find their way around. A couple of cars moving out of the way as well for others. As this grouping from the GT3s comes through again. It's Hunter Reeve. I believe we have the 117 in there from Milaranio. Here's the lap car. And just ahead of him is that the 8-3... Is it? I can't... 93. The 93 car, that's Carl Smith. So 2 lap cars there. And again, this is how cooked the tyres must be on that GT4, because he's struggling to pass the GT3, sorry, because he's struggling to pass the GT4s, which I'm kind of surprised by.
Well, Well, I think maybe the weight of the cars could have a factor in the tire wear as well, because that Ford is quite a heavy car compared to the GT4s. Maybe they're having a little bit better tire wear. I think he's not
Speed.
sort of closing and passing, but he does when it's straight line power. The Ford's got it, so there he goes.
Yeah, just off screen, we just saw him pass both of them on the line there. Look at the H4 coming in here. It's Matt Smotherman hitting pit road.
Matt coming in.
Took your time, Matt. 4 minutes left on the clock, so 25 minutes on that tank. Not bad going, actually. As Hunter Reeves still hasn't pitted yet. He's in 4th place currently in your field. Albano's catching up behind him, though, so he'll have to do something soon, I suspect, because both of them have not pitted. And very, very wide corner entries from him. We're seeing Smotherman, though. Oh, a little bit of slowdown behind him. That's useful for him, I suspect. Smotherman coming out now. Just fuel for him.
Yeah, and he is still 8 seconds ahead of 8 seconds ahead of Chris Walsh.
Yeah, it certainly is. Huge running here. That's net distance, of course. He was set a bit longer, but we have got... Oh, wow. Hunter Reeve finally realizes where pit entrance is and comes on down pit road. Along with the 7 machine of Stu Santana from the GT4 field. And behind them, I think we also have... who was that just came down? One of the other GT4 cars. I can't quite tell who, but we'll see them on pit road. Are we going to see tyres here from Hunter? 5 minutes of fuel? I don't think anyone could afford to take tyres with a 5-minute fuel stop.
No, with the amount of time left it doesn't make sense. You're just going to splash and dash here.
That's absolutely what we're seeing here. So he's got to hobble this thing back home with wonky tyres, which can't be too pleasant for him.
Yeah, he just snuck out in front of Albano here, but we'll see if he can hold it on the track.
We'll have to see. Albano, I think, had pitted.
Yes.
So yeah, he's been down the lap before. I believe. Look at this. Yes.
So this is for position here. With only 2.5 minutes left to go in the race, so to see if Albano can close that gap and get past Hunter once more. He's already passed him once in the race, but then had that self-spin we saw earlier.
I think given the tyre state, it's going to be a matter of time for Albano to make the move here, but he's going to have to combat the speed we see here from Hunter Reeve when he's on a straight line. Now Ford is a missile, but missiles don't turn too well, which tends to mean you end up in a tricky spot here, which is why if you're in a fighter jet, being chased by one on a brake is a good idea, because missiles really struggle to turn. So can be somewhat helpful there, as long as it's close enough that you can turn sharply. I digress.
Yeah, Albano's sticking right on his tail here, so he's trying to stay close for these corners and trying to get his nose in here.
He's getting much closer from what we're seeing. Yeah, really
you can
close.
see how he closes in on the corners there. But can he get the job done in the middle of the corners? That's a very tough spot to pass.
Well, the lap car gets out of the way for them respectfully there, so that's good. Gives him a bit more room to work this one, and it's going to be a tricky job to hold on here for a minute and a half. This is probably our best race we've got in this one so far. Can Hunter Reeve, with his cooked tyres and a bathtub on roller skates that is the Ford GT, hold off the charging Porsche? And that's going to be the real challenge running to the end of this thing, because it's going to be for net 6th place in the race, so not a huge result, but at the same time, it's a pride thing at this point. It's trying to make sure you keep what you can keep and get what you can get in a motor race. And that's exactly what these guys want.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they don't differentiate between the different classes within the classes. So if you're in a GT3, everybody's trying to race everybody else in the GT3 as best they can. As respectfully as they can, of course, but obviously there's a lot of pride involved in being up in front.
Mistake for Albano. He cooked it in the S's there. Kind of almost lost it back and had to go straight there, and he didn't spin, but he's lost a huge amount of time, which has to be the best feeling in the world for Hunter Reeve, who now has a lot of breathing room.
Yes, he can sigh a bit of relief here as he's got a bit of a gap and can hopefully bring it through, because I think we're probably on getting close to the last lap.
Yeah, we're on the last lap right now. We have 1 second, 0 seconds. So this will be the last lap. Smotherman's coming through 18 now, down towards 19 and 20. And it's been a phenomenal race for him. 15 seconds, 16 seconds nearly over Chris Walsh in this race tonight. A phenomenal performance here from Matt Smotherman. Absolutely impressive from him as always. We get such great racing from him. We're going to get Chris Walsh in a while coming across the line. He's coming past 19 now into 20. See him come through now. There's the 11. And it's Conor Parisi for the GT4s across the line for him. Class win. We haven't looked at him much, but he's also been pretty quiet. Big gap for him to Tyler Beeman and Matt Ayotte behind him as well.
Yeah, the leaders in both classes certainly stretched it out tonight and showed their legs on this course.
Yes, they absolutely did. Most of our field coming across the line there, so we are going to go to a short commercial break. We'll be right back with your post-race results and interviews. Don't go anywhere. That's a little tough to call. Welcome back to post-race coverage here for Operation E Motorsport at Circuit of the Americas. And we have our post-race results tonight. Matt Smotherman for the Pro Beneficiaries wins the race. We'll get a chance to talk to him later. You know, Chris Walsh winning the Pro class there in second place overall, with Ed Nelson in third. Behind them for the Pros, we have Matt Wallace, Hunter Reeve for the Pro Beneficiaries, Gabriel Albano for the Pros there, and Scott Andrews for Pro Beneficiary. Yes, he is. And coming from that, we also then have Conor Parisi coming home for the Beneficiaries with a win. Tyler Beamon in second for the GT4s, winning the Open class. Matt Ayotte there in second for the Beneficiaries, with Nick Maranio in second for the Open. Brian Knight third for the Beneficiaries. Kyle Smith third for your Open. And Steve Santana for the Open in fourth. Without further ado, we'll get a chance to chat to Matt Smotherman first, of course. Well, we're going to talk to you first, Matt, because you finished a while ahead of the rest of the field tonight. Circuit of the Americas. I'm not going to ask you how you did tonight, because you drove around a racetrack for a while and won. But what I will say, however, is what is your favourite corner at COTA?
Oh my goodness.
You must pick only one.
Oh goodness, I'm gonna say turn 15, and this is an easy one because I have like season pass tickets at Circuit of the Americas, and our seats are at turn 15. It's where so much of the action ends up happening. You see people come down that back straight. So maybe not turn 15, but whatever the turn is at the end of the straight, that's probably my
12.
favorite. 12, that's the one.
Okay, so turn 12. Now, what is your least favourite corner at Circuit of the Americas? You're on the
Oh my
spot tonight.
goodness.
I could just say,
I'm-
hey, you had a great race. How was it? You'll be, oh no, it was fine. I just drove around and it was really quick. But no, I'm putting you on the spot.
Turn 10. Turn 10 is my least favorite because for whatever reason, I always seem to take it a different way every single time I try to do it. And I felt like it was the bane of my existence. And so like every single lap, it's like, am I going to get turn 10 right this time? And it's like, it's always different. So I would say turn 10, at least for now.
That's of course the entrance to the Bane back straight there, which is a fun one. But no, so I will of course ask you because I have to. I'm contractually obliged. How was your race tonight, Matt?
It was good. I was telling Chris before the race, like while we were gridding up, it's like every single time that I've ever qualified in front of him, he's passed me on the first lap. So the fact that he didn't was a great sign. I saw him fall back a little bit. I guess he had some bad luck, and it was I was able to breathe a little bit easier. So I'd say that the race itself was good. Everything kind of came together. Running into traffic and stuff, the GT4 field handled the traffic coming through, at least in my instance, really well. And everything just seemed to line up in certain terms of timing, so I didn't really lose a whole lot of time going through there. So it felt really good.
Well, it was a masterclass in going very fast around Texas. So you did great tonight. Thank you very much. Who would you like to give a shout out to or thank?
I'll give a shout out to my wife. It's been a hard week and she's been my rock the entire time. So if she's watching right now, shout out to her.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us, Matt Smotherman, coming home today with a win for the Pro Beneficiary class.
Thank you very much.
And next, as we have Connor Paris here. Connor, congratulations winning for tonight in the GT4 field and for the Beneficiary class. How was it?
That was great. It was a nice slip and slide track, just the way I like it. So it was great to keep it between the white lines for most of the race and take the W.
We asked this, of course, of Matt, but I'm going to ask you for your favourite and least favourite corner here at COTA.
Oof, the least favorite corner is definitely in the stadium section, that last hairpin. I think I get that right 0 out of 10 times. My favorite is probably the first half of the S's. It's fun to nail that at high speed.
Okay, wonderful choices there. So obviously, this track is unusual compared to a lot of them being such a modern Herman Tilke sort of circuit. Do you find you prefer this kind of racetrack over more classic ones, should we say?
Hit and miss. These Tilke tracks are, most of them I don't like. This one's not too bad. It's definitely not the bottom of the Tilke tracks, but you can't go wrong with a nice classic with elevation change and things to run into if you fall off the track.
There is certainly that. Well, who would you like to give a shout out to or thank for the win tonight?
Well, I gotta thank you guys and the Operation Motorsports crew, for sure, as well as my teammates on Nitro Circus Sim Racing, Next Level Racing, Apex Gaming PCs, Pimax, and that's it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us, Connor, coming home today with the win for the Beneficiary Field and GT4. Thank you. Well, next up, Rodney standing by with Matt Ayotte here, coming home with second.
Evening, Matt. How was your race tonight?
It went pretty good. Tried to run a nice clean race, so I was kind of hoping that I noticed a lot of people in practice were getting off tracks. So I was kind of hoping if I run clean and smooth, this track really rewards smooth driving, I find. So that's kind of the strategy I went into it, and I felt pretty good about it. Third in the GT4s and second in class, so nice consistency.
No, absolutely. You had a good race tonight. There was a few cars that had some trouble tonight. How did you find the grip on the track compared to, say, other tracks we've run so far in the series?
Yeah, it's definitely a downforce centric track. So, we're running a fixed setup. We don't get to. We kind of have a good balanced car for a good majority of the tracks, but this isn't one of iRacing's normal scheduled tracks for the GT4, so it struggled a little bit, but at the same time, it rewarded smooth driving, and I just wasn't smooth enough for some of those Porsches, but it definitely went pretty all right. I had no real big qualms with the car setup.
Oh, that's good. Next week we're off to Japan and Suzuka. What do you think of that track?
I was kind of hoping that rain was going to happen for iRacing by that point, but I gotta live the F1 dream, and Suzuka is kind of a really wet track. So, but I'm looking forward to it. It has a lot more better flow than some of the other tracks we've been racing on. So, I like a good flowing track overall.
Great. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out to and thank?
Well, first, I would just like to thank my wife for supporting me in this endeavor and allowing me time to practice as well as to compete here with Opmo. And then I'm going to shout out to we got a few beneficiaries out at Sebring this weekend. I'm going to yell out to Josh and Adam. You know, they were in ROR with me, and now they're taking on the role of helping new beneficiaries come into Opmo. So I just want to shout out to them and thank them for what they're doing.
Great, and congratulations on your second place showing tonight, and good luck next week in Suzuka.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was, of course, Matt out coming in with second for the beneficiaries, and we have now Brian Knight. Brian, we got you?
Rachel, what's going on? How are you?
I'm absolutely wonderful tonight. What I really want to always talk about you, a busy race tonight, of course, and a tricky track, I think, and a big track for a field like this sort of size tonight. How was it for you?
Yeah, very, very slick. Not being able to get up to speed without losing the car. And hey, I was completely surprised that I didn't lose it, actually. My goal was to not have 17 incidents and have to do a drive-through penalty on the first lap. And I made it, I think, with 9 incidents total.
Well, that's certainly preferable compared to how it could have gone. I've asked this with the other guys, but I want to ask you 2 questions. First off, favourite corner and least favourite corner here at COTA?
My favorite actually became turn 1. Believe it or not, I didn't mind it. And then I would say the worst one is the S's, just because you can't carry enough speed, or if you get too much speed, you're just going to lose it.
Interesting choices. We've had different answers, Rodney, from everyone tonight on what their favourite and least favourite corners were, so no agreement. Everyone just likes and dislikes different parts of this track, possibly because it has so many different tracks in it. But, of course, Suzuka next week, Brian. Is that going to be a track that's good for you?
No track is good for me. Are you kidding? Listen, we're talking today, honestly, because, a lot of the competition is out. And I was just able to put together, I guess, something decent enough to get in the interview room and be able to talk to you. However, last week we ran a practice of VIR, and I placed 3rd, so I was really upset that it wasn't broadcast, because it would have been my first actual legit chance to get a chance to talk to you.
Well, I'll stop you right there and say that this is a real race. This is a 3rd place. This is a legit time to talk to me. Doesn't matter if the rest of the field can't make it. You made it, and you got 3rd, so never say that to yourself again.
Absolutely. And I will take it.
You absolutely will. And with that, I will ask you, have you got anyone to give a shout out to or thank for this?
Yeah, obviously Operation Motorsport for putting this on, you guys for doing a great broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch it later on, and then the USO for allowing me to race on the Sims and represent the USO in this e-motorsports league.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. 3rd place tonight for Brian Knight in the GT4s and the beneficiary class. So thank you, Brian. We'll hopefully get to talk to you again.
Thanks.
Well, with that, it is time to wrap things up tonight here at Circuit of the Americas. Of course, as always, thank you to the series partners for Operation eMotorsport iRacing League iRacing and the USO of North Carolina. For Jason Leach, Diesel Loader, Chris Ramirez and the entire Operation Motorsport team. For Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton and John Theodore at Podium Esports. Camera builder Dougie Beard. Our producer Gary Sexton. Cameron Obenon on social media, and my colleague this evening, Rodney Campbell. I'm your host, Rachel Whiteford. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the Operation eMotorsport iRacing League. We wish you a good night, and we'll see you at Suzuka.